and then getting up to the low 50s with sunshine. I'm KIRO 7 Pinpoint meteorologist Nick Allard.
I'm seeing plenty of sunshine out there. It's 43 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Colleen O'Brien.
Listen on your smart speakers, Amazon, Google Home, and Apple HomePod. KIRO Radio 97.3 FM with Tom and Curly now on your drive home.
From the Carter Subaru Studios, this is the G and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
It's the 11 o'clock hour of the G and Ursula Show. I'm G. Scott, that's Ursula Reutin. Ursula, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You have been so hyped up about our next guest.
So hyped up.
I know. That was the first thing you talked about when I walked in this morning. Like, I cannot wait to find out more.
Because I was reading up on them. I was watching YouTube last night. I was doing all kinds of research and everything. But right now, let's get right to the news. You know, Ursula, we get on the show and we often talk about the Seattle freeze and the impossibility of housing affordability, but there are places in the Puget Sound where an affordable, community-centered life is possible. There's a private planned community in Issaquah where everyone knows each other, and the rent, $400 a month. Yes, you heard that.
Unbelievable.
$400 a month, but there's a catch. We'll get to that catch in a minute. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Right now, Mandy Zelenka and Jeremy Ferguson join us right now in studio to talk about this great community. Welcome to the G and Ursula Show.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you guys coming in. Mandy, thank you for being here as well. In October of 2019, you two were living in West Seattle, and then you moved. Tell us where and tell us why.
Well, we were living in West Seattle and loving the area up there, but we were also members of Tiger Mountain Family Nudist Park, and we were spending a lot of time and a lot of overnight charges on their cabins up there, and we finally said, hey, you know, we're up here so much, let's just move in. So we made the choice to move up there permanently.
When did you guys decide you like being nude?
I decided this summer. This guy has been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a few years now and just absolutely love the lifestyle. It's a phone-free lifestyle when you're out there hanging out with friends, and it's a non-judgmental lifestyle. People just accept you for who you are because there's no barriers. People don't understand your socioeconomic background because everybody's naked.
Okay, so let's go back to this particular spot where you're at, on Tiger Mountain, right? So describe what this community is like. I mean, you're living there 24/7.
It's phenomenal.
Okay,
we
so
are
describe it.
nestled in the middle of a mountain. So I'm wearing my boots today, and they're all muddy. It's on 40 acres. There's a pool, a sauna, a hot tub. There's about 30 spaces and about, I think, 45 people that live there. It's phenomenal.
So you are in RVs or what? So what is it? Your tents?
It's a mix. So there's some RVs up there, and there's some tiny homes, and there's some stick-built homes. There's a couple of A-frames. So it all depends on what you are approved to do by the board and by the building regulations by the county. So it's a combination of the two, and you petition the board because you have to be a member of the club in order to live there.
It's a private club, membership club, correct?
Okay, so
technically,
how do you become a member of the club, and what are your rules for this club?
So in order to join the club, come up during the time that we're open for regular season, which is beginning of May until the end of September. Your first visit is free, and then the next two visits you can come check it out at a reduced cost, and then after that you determine whether you want to become a full member or continue to paying just the day fees. Once you become a member, then you can petition the board to live up there full time if you'd like.
Help us understand the expenses. Okay, so it's $400 a month, right? That you guys are paying. You're living in tiny homes. You're not living in tents or anything like that.
No,
You're living tiny homes.
So it's
tiny
a
homes.
combo.
And so with the combo and everything, and so how do you guys clean up everything? Is there management? How does that work?
it's all community driven. We all
Okay.
pitch in. It's part of our living there. We have to volunteer our time for things. So Jeremy has been taking care of the roads up there because it's been incredibly muddy with all the rain and the mudslides. I do work online, social media type stuff for them, and this would be considered some PR, I suppose.
Yeah, I also help take care of the hot tubs and every member is just asked to do some kind of work to help keep the park up.
Okay, Mandy, I want to ask you, why live and be part of this community? What is the big draw? I mean, have you always felt like, hey, I need to just let it all hang out?
No.
Okay, so how did this come about?
It came about because it came about because I was super burnt out on my job, and we had a vacation coming up, and Jeremy suggested that I join him at a nudist place in Palm Springs, and I was like, you're crazy. But I was so burnt out that I was like, fine, I'll try it, whatever. How bad can it be? And I got there, and it was wonderful. People were very chatty around the pool, like super nice, really funny people there. And I've never been to a hotel where all the people at the pool are chatting and hanging out and barbecuing together. And I was like, there's something going on here. Like I like what's happening here. And then we started going up for the weekends, and I would still keep my clothes on because I wasn't a nudist. And one day I was finally like, F it, man. Everybody's naked. So why shouldn't I just be naked as well? Nobody's judging me. I'm the only one judging me at this moment. And so I just finally did it. And it was so freeing and wonderful. And to be able to have like the wind blowing at 70 degrees naked while you're reading a book by the pool.
Hey, sounds good. That is the voice of Mandy and Jeremy. They're members of the Tiger Mountain Family Nudist Park out there in Issaquah. They've been out there since October of 2019. All right, so I was researching, right? And so I wanted to make sure, Ursula, that I didn't come in here and say anything stupid, right? And so that was my goal. So help me understand the difference between these three things: naturist, nudist, and swinger.
So, by and large, a naturist is somebody that wants to be more connected with the earth, with nature. So, and one way to do that is to be naked. Whereas a nudist just likes to be naked. I would consider myself more of a nudist. I just like to be unbifurcated. I don't like pants. So, oftentimes you'll see me in just my white shirt. And then swingers, that's a whole different category. And oftentimes people lump nudists and naturists in with swingers, and it's a completely different lifestyle. We may have swingers up at the park. I don't know. We don't ask people those kinds of questions. But what we do when you come up to visit is we do a sexual offender background check and a full background check on people before they become members.
I'd imagine there are many misconceptions about a nudist park or a nudist community like you have. What are some of the biggest ones?
You know, the biggest thing I hear is people just think that it's a big adult film fest up there.
Uh-huh.
And it is not. It isn't. It's a family-friendly place. There's a lot of people that have brought up their kids in this lifestyle. They invite people over. I have two kids. One of my kids came up to visit us in December. And while we didn't all hang out naked the time we were there, we did have an opportunity at a hot tub. So, you know, oftentimes people will say, yeah, I don't want to walk naked through the park, but I'll hot tub naked. And that's kind of a natural feeling thing. We take baths naked, so let's hop in the hot tub. And nothing hinky goes on up there. It's one of those things that's a misconception that people have about it.
You guys mentioned the pool, and I like going to the pool and everything. So is there a different conversation like at a pool that it's with nude folks as opposed to those with clothes? Help me understand, like, how do I approach to have conversation? I don't know if I should even have a conversation with this person.
And where's your eye contact?
Like, where's your eye contact? Like,
eyes up, eyes up.
Do you judge me? Like, I'm going to ask the questions that a lot of our listeners are thinking, so I got to get right to it.
No, I love that you're asking those questions. What we have, or at least what I've found, I'll let Mandy speak for herself, but just coming up and starting to talk to people, sometimes it's usually as simple as, hey, I like your beach towel. Where'd you get that? There are some people that like to wear a necklace that has their name on it. That way it's a conversation starter. So after you get an opportunity to just get to know the lay of the land, you'll start to understand what those natural conversations are. And oftentimes it doesn't include things like, what do you do for work? Because people don't care.
We never talk about work ever. It's so wonderful.
I hate that question in real world.
Right?
Exactly.
We never. I don't know what anybody, well, I do now, but I really didn't know up until about a month ago what some people did for work.
But speaking of work, I would imagine that there is also a misconception like, oh, these are people who are don't want to work or want to go against society. Both of you have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mandy's an entrepreneur. I work in public works, and I mean, we have good jobs. There's a lot of people out there that have great jobs, 6-figure jobs in some cases, and some cases not. But it's a wide variety, from self-starters to government employees to everything.
So you guys seem very comfortable in talking about this, and thank you guys so much for joining the G and Ursula show. How do you keep it a secret with your employers or your coworkers, or are you out and you just like let everybody know?
We've always been pretty open about anything that we do. So our coworkers know, our kids know. At first, the kids were like, but at first I was a little apprehensive, right? And so the more that we talked to them about it, and then have had the opportunity to have them up, like their whole idea about it is changing, which is great because that's the whole point of what we're trying to do.
We want to normalize nudity, so that's the reason why we started our blog and started talking about it, because once we discovered how great this lifestyle is, we wanted to change the way that people look at it.
It's also a really cost-effective way to travel.
Explain that.
There's not a ton of amenities when you go stay at nudist places because nobody's ever in their room. So, I mean, the rooms may not be up to your typical standards, but the room rates are typically lower because everyone's hanging out at the pool all day.
So you don't have to pack a swimsuit. I mean, we recently went on a vacation down to Palm Springs because we love the area down there. A lot of nude places to hang out, and we put everything that we needed into one single carry-on for a 4-day trip. So we didn't have to pay for any baggage fees or anything. So it was great.
Do you see that this is something that is becoming more popular, or has it been pretty stagnant?
I've actually noticed with the younger generation, with my coworkers and people that I know that are younger, they're super into it. They're really into the idea of tiny living in a community, intentional living. The idea of nudism doesn't seem to bother them. When I speak to people that are older, it typically, and I'm stereotyping a bit, but these are the conversations I've had. It's from what I've seen, it's a little bit more. People are a little bit more apprehensive about it.
What I've noticed in just meeting you two and talking to you, and in talking about, you're talking about the parties and you just hanging out and the beach or the swimming pool. I noticed that there doesn't seem to be that much insecurity with you guys, and help us better understand that part of it. Like, it seems like the conversations are probably more, there's less people judging, because I know today when I go to a bar or someone, nobody's hardly talking, nobody's hardly dancing, everybody's on their phones, and so it's got that one part, and it sounds like it's the exact opposite with you.
We've been in Seattle for 5 years, and this is the first time I've known my neighbors.
Oh.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
We got to know our neighbors before we moved into the community. That's why we call it an intentional community. Mm-hmm. We would not have moved there unless we knew it was a safe place. And it is a gated community, too. So it is a very safe-feeling environment. And, G, you were talking about going to a bar and seeing people with phones and stuff. You don't see that there because we don't allow people to just walk around and take pictures while you're hanging out at the
No one's doing
pool.
selfies.
Yeah, you don't.
For us.
Yeah, with special permission, you can do a few selfies or something. But people aren't talking about the news events or what's going on their cell phone. They're not talking about Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff. They're just talking about, hey, what do you like to do when you hang out by the pool, or what do you like to do to vacation? It seems to be just more getting to know each other. And there's people that I have discovered more things about them than I know about some of my best friends who are textile wearers.
I'm glad you brought that up. By the way, that is the voice of Mandy and Jeremy. They live over there in Tiger Mountain, the Tiger Mountain Family Nudist Park. You mentioned that you know more about others, and the two of you, obviously, you've been dating, and you finally had to have a conversation with her. He's like, hey, why don't you come with me in the nude? And you're like, hey, what is that, crazy? That moment right there, that moment of you telling her about how you like to be nude, and she having to, was that kind of weird during that time? Or did it end up being good because so many relationships live lies?
Totally.
And that was truth right there.
Yeah, and it was interesting that it's considered coming out as a nudist, but it's a big deal with society, right? The weirdest part, I think, was before I went with him, he would have friends come over and they'd hang out naked, and I was like, "This is super weird."
Did you tell your friends?
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
I only selected friends because I was like, people are going to think this is insane.
Well,
okay, wait. So
Ursula, what you got, girl? What you got?
Right?
Wait, when you first start dating, I mean, that was courageous of you. I mean, I probably would have been like, time to exit.
But at least
a lot of trust.
At least you knew he wasn't a liar.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of folks was like, oh, the Super Bowl deal, that really made me upset watching the Super Bowl, and then they do other stuff on the side. And you guys are telling the truth.
And she has since met several of my nudist friends. They've been up at the park, and I'm like, hey, this is so-and-so I've been telling you about. And she's like, oh, yeah, you've been over to my house when I wasn't there. But we had this great place in West Seattle, had a great view of the water, and I put up some privacy fencing on the balcony, so occasionally we'd have a couple friends, or I would have a couple friends over. We'd hang out nude, have a little barbecue or something, and we would find spots around town to just have little meetup events.
So are there any drawbacks living this kind of lifestyle? Are there any? I mean, we hear the jokes about don't cook bacon. Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Just cook it in the oven, you're fine.
That was Saul Spady that said that today.
Are there any issues that we need to, we should know about that you think, okay, this would make it easier for us to live this kind of lifestyle?
Oh, boy. I think if people just did a little bit of research before they pass judgment on what takes place up there, that would be super helpful. And it's always funny to talk about cooking in the nude, but sometimes it gets a little old to talk about the spilling of the sauce or the bacon grease. Right. I mean, you can find ways around some of that stuff.
It seems like a simple solution.
Yeah. But I think, if people want to come up and see what it's all about, just come up. Your first time in is free, and the next 2 times you can just come in for a $17 day fee and check it out. That's pretty cheap to come up and play volleyball and swim and recreate.
You guys had a nice little Super Bowl party recently. You guys have Super Bowl parties. I was looking at that and all those things. And then you have a YouTube deal that I saw you on. What's that? What is that YouTube channel? What is it called?
Well, if you go to www.themandy.show, it will send you to my YouTube channel. And I just realized that, this is a really unique situation that we're in, and I have to document this. And it's been a really great tool to actually share with my children, hi Ethan, because I want them to understand what we're doing, and I want other people to as well, but it's just, there's no better way than actually showing it with video, I feel like.
And you also have a big message about body acceptance as well.
Absolutely. I've always been pretty good on the body positivity thing, but the minute that I decided to start taking my clothes off and getting in the pool, it just completely changed the way I looked at myself because I stopped caring. I mean, I love clothes and I love fashion. I'm pretty typical in that, but it's so freeing.
Some of the greatest conversations have been about what your scars look like. People are like, oh, yeah, I got the scar when I had such and such a surgery. And you start talking about health and healthy lifestyles. And I've seen some of the most interesting tattoos because oftentimes people put tattoos where you don't often show them. But it strikes up, again, another conversation.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Thank
you.
That's Mandy. That's Jeremy. Really hope we talk to you guys in the future soon.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. Scenarios. We did that last segment. We're going to be doing 11:45. We're going to be taking your text. We'll take your text at 11:45. Get your feedback. We'll talk about that. But up next, Ursula has a story to tell. Plus, we need to pay off some of your texts. Some of you guys text us about gut instincts and how it saved you. Listen to G and Ursula Show.